If you've always wanted a flat tummy and nothing has worked for you, I have the answers for you on this video today. I'm a real holistic plastic surgeon. Let's break down what works and why. There are three main causes of why your abdomen may not be as flat as you want it to be. The first cause is bloating. Bloating is when you have excess gas in your GI tract, and this can cause your tummy to stick out, sometimes embarrassingly so. And one key sign of bloating is when your abdomen is flat before you eat, but sticks out a lot after you eat. Sometimes bloating can be severe even after drinking just water. The second reason why your abdomen may stick out more than you want to is belly fat. Belly fat can be either subcutaneous or visceral. Subcutaneous fat is fat that is right below the skin and above the muscle layer. This is fat that you can technically pinch between your fingers. Visceral fat is fat that's inside your abdominal cavity. This is fat that's all around your intestines and your other inner organs. You can't pinch visceral fat. Visceral fat causes your abdomen to basically stick out and be round. And a classic example of somebody with visceral fat is a guy with a pot belly. In addition to doing the pinch test, another way to tell whether it's subcutaneous or visceral fat is that subcutaneous fat is usually soft and mushy, whereas visceral fat is rock hard. And the third cause of why your tummy can stick out is if it's been stretched out. If you're a woman, your skin can be stretched out if you've been pregnant, sometimes multiple times. It can also be stretched out if you have lost a lot of weight. But in addition to your skin getting stretched out, your muscle layer can get stretched out as well, and we call this a diastasis. A diastasis is a separation of the rectus abdominis muscles that are the muscles that make up the front of your abdomen. Now, this condition is most common after women have had multiple pregnancies. So now that we've established the three main causes of your tummy sticking out, let's get to the solutions. One big key to improving bloating is to get your microbiome in order. The microbiome are the trillions of bacteria that line your GI tract, and they are super important to the functioning not only of your GI tract, but of your entire body. Now, these trillions of bacteria can be healthy or they can be unhealthy. Two causes of an unhealthy microbiome are multiple courses of antibiotics and an unhealthy diet. Specifically, a diet that's filled with ultra-processed foods and a lot of added sugar. So how can you have a more healthy microbiome? Well, one thing you can do is you can take a daily probiotic. Probiotics are basically beneficial bacteria that you can take as a supplement that can help to basically bolster the healthy bacteria in your gut. And I recommend at least 3 billion colony-forming units in a probiotic supplement. But even better than a probiotic supplement is to take those probiotics as food. And fermented foods are filled with probiotics. These are foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, kefir, yogurt, tempeh, sourdough, and kombucha. Eating these types of kind of sour fermented foods can help to bolster the microbiome in your gut by adding those beneficial bacteria. And unfortunately, our United States diet is pretty much devoid of any of these. It's basically sterile. So if you can try to focus on eating at least 2 to 3 fermented foods a week, that's really going to be helpful for the bacteria inside your gut and can be helpful for bloating. Now, if you have severe bloating and you're eating fermented foods, you're taking a daily probiotic, and it's still not helping, then you may want to consider an elimination diet. There are certain types of foods in the diet that can cause you to have bloating issues, and they can be different for different people. The first thing I would recommend that you try is eliminating dairy. Dairy can create a lot of bloating and excess gas, especially because a very high percentage of the population is lactose intolerant. So try to go off all dairy products for a couple of weeks. And this obviously includes milk, it includes cheeses, ice cream, and even yogurt. See if your bloating improves, and if it does, then it's possible you might be lactose intolerant, or it's possible that you are just sensitive to dairy products. If that doesn't work, then try going off of gluten. Gluten is a prime component of different breads as well as pasta. Now, traditional medicine will tell you that if you don't have celiac disease, you should tolerate gluten, but that's not necessarily true. Approximately 10% of the population may be sensitive to gluten, and even though they're not celiac, it may cause them to have bloating, to feel gassy, and just to feel kind of crummy after they eat it. So see how you feel once you eliminate gluten for 2 weeks in your diet. It's very possible that your bloating can improve and maybe even other symptoms as well. Now, 2 other foods to consider eliminating if these other ones don't help you are ultra-processed foods and foods with added sugar. Like I mentioned before, these can definitely help with the health of your microbiome. If your microbiome is healthy, you are less likely to have bloating problems. And if none of these work, then I recommend that you see a functional medicine physician or a gastroenterologist to see if they have any suggestions for you. Does your collagen taste like you're eating a burger? Your coffee shouldn't taste like a quarter pounder. Youn Beauty supplemental collagen has no taste, but it's made of the highest quality bovine collagen called visceral. Studies show taking a hydrolyzed collagen supplement regularly can improve the appearance of your skin and even increase the collagen content, which degrades with time. Youn Beauty supplemental collagen. All the benefits, but none of the beefy taste. Check it out at younbeauty.com and use the coupon code 20OFF to get $20 off your first order over $99. So I mentioned earlier that belly fat can be separated into 2 types, visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. So let me go over with you how to treat both of these types of fat to get rid of them. Of the 2 types of fat, subcutaneous fat is the easiest to get rid of, because we have various treatments that can get rid of it for you. Yes, diet and exercise can do that, but if that's not working for you, then you may want to consider some non-invasive or even minimally invasive treatments. Cool sculpting is the most established way to eliminate fat stores non-invasively. Now, this device takes the subcutaneous fat, it pulls it into the device, then it chills that fat and the skin to a certain temperature that causes those fat cells to crystallize. Because the skin on the surface is hardier than the fat underneath, the skin is not damaged, but those fat cells are crystallized, some of them die, and then the body clears it naturally through the liver and the kidneys. Studies show that after 2 treatments of cool sculpting, you can lose upwards of 20 to 25% of the thickness of fat. But the problem with cool sculpting is it can, in rare cases, anywhere from 0.1 to 1% of the time, cause the fat to actually increase in size. And this is called paradoxical adipose hyperplasia. In a small percentage of patients, you get cool sculpting to reduce the fat, and your body does the opposite. It actually causes the fat to get thicker and thicker. And I have seen this in a couple of patients throughout my career. So if you don't want to risk paradoxical adipose hyperplasia, then you may want to consider sculpture. Sculpture is a laser that can heat the fat to a certain temperature that fat actually also dies off. And like with cool sculpting, your body gets rid of it naturally. Now, the results with sculpture are pretty similar to the results with cool sculpting. Studies show that after 2 treatments of sculpture, you can reduce upwards of 20% of the thickness of fat. And keep in mind, neither of these procedures involve any type of needles or cutting. There's absolutely zero invasiveness to it, and they're usually pretty well tolerated. But the results are still very subtle. So if you want to see a greater change that you can get with cool sculpting or with sculpture, now you have to think about invasive treatments. Kybella is made with deoxycholic acid, and this is a naturally occurring substance in our GI tract that can essentially digest away fat. So Kybella works. It digests and eliminates fat stores, but there's quite a bit of inflammation in that process. And the other thing with Kybella is it's very expensive. And so if you want to reduce belly fat with Kybella, it's way too expensive for that. Kybella is really only affordable to treat small areas like under the chin, not large areas like the whole abdomen. And this leaves us with liposuction. Liposuction is still the gold standard for removing fat, albeit via surgery. It's the most common plastic surgery being done around the country, and it really works to remove fat stores. But it is surgery, so let me briefly describe it. We make a small incision near the area that you want to suck out. We inject an anesthetic solution into that area, and using a long cannula, we actually physically suck out those fat cells. Now, a lot of people ask, if you remove those fat cells, can't they come back? And the answer is no. Once those fat cells are removed, they don't grow back. However, the fat cells that are still remaining can actually get bigger if you gain weight. So liposuction is very effective in reducing fat, but keep in mind it doesn't tighten up skin, and it is surgery and can have a couple weeks of downtime with it. Now, there are a number of different branded liposuctions out there, from Beaver to laser liposuction to air sculpt to tickle lipo and water sculpt. I'll tell you, I've tried a bunch of these, and it really comes down to none of them appear to have a whole lot of benefit, over just traditional liposuction. So buyer beware, don't pay a bunch of extra money for some fancy name of a liposuction procedure. In the end, it comes down to mechanically sucking your fat out. And the quality of the surgeon is much more important than the actual device. Now, how do you get rid of visceral fat? Well, as I mentioned earlier, visceral fat is fat that's inside our abdominal cavity around our inner organs. Another name for visceral fat is our omentum. And unfortunately, you cannot surgically remove this fat. There's no way you can reduce visceral fat except on your own via diet and exercise. Unfortunately, this is also the fat that we consider to be the unhealthy fat, and it is correlated with heart disease. Also, you want to keep in mind that visceral fat is genetically mediated. If your parent has visceral fat, it's very likely that you will get that too. So be realistic with yourself and be kind with yourself. Sometimes in my clinic, I see patients who are really thin but have visceral fat and kind of a round tummy. Essentially, genetics has given that to them, and it's really, really difficult to get rid of it. So please be realistic and kind with yourself if you have visceral fat. When you lose a bunch of weight, or if you've had multiple children, that can leave you with a stretched out abdomen. It could be skin that's stretched out, or it could be the underlying muscle layer that's stretched out. If you've got a muscle layer that's stretched out, that's called a diastasis, and you can improve the diastasis by certain exercises. So the first thing I recommend that you do is meet with a physical therapist who can give you certain exercises that can strengthen your abdominal wall and even mildly reduce the space between those muscles, or that diastasis. If you've got a lot of money to spend, then you could consider some of the muscle stimulating devices out there. There are some studies that show that muscle stimulating devices like TrueSculpt and CoolTone may help to minorly reduce a diastasis non-invasively. But these treatments are very expensive, and I don't necessarily know that these results last all that long. Now, the other option, if you've got diastasis, is surgery, and you can surgically tie those muscles back together like an internal corset. And this brings us to treating stretched out skin. Now, as you know, I'm a holistic plastic surgeon, and I'm all about trying to recommend non-invasive and minimally invasive ways to look your best. If you're part of my Rejuvenation Nation, you know that this is definitely true. But unfortunately, there is one situation that universally, unfortunately, needs surgery to treat it, and that is excess stretched out skin. So if you've had children and the skin of your abdomen has been stretched out, or if you've lost a lot of weight and the skin has been stretched out, then unfortunately the only real option for you that really works is a tummy tuck. Now, tummy tucks come in a number of different options. There's a mini tummy tuck, which removes a small amount of excess skin in the lower abdomen and creates a shorter scar. I find in my patients that only about 5 to 10% of patients are actually good candidates for a mini tummy tuck. Most patients are candidates for what we call a traditional or a full tummy tuck. And this is an operation that creates a hip-to-hip scar, but the entire amount of skin and fat between the belly button and the pubic area is actually removed, flattening out the entire abdomen. Now, this is also combined with a diastasis repair. So sutures are used to tie those stretched out muscles back together. Now, in some patients who have lost large amounts of weight, they may be a candidate for a fleur-de-lis tummy tuck or a fleur-de-lis abdominoplasty. This combines removal of skin from a traditional tummy tuck, but also skin from the middle of the abdomen as well. This will create a scar that basically is an upside down T. These are not that common because a lot of patients don't want that vertical scar coming right up and down their abdomen. And the final type of a tummy tuck is a circumferential tummy tuck or a lower body lift. And this is an operation where skin is removed from all the way around 360 degrees around your abdomen, including your back. This is a big operation that not only helps to flatten your abdomen, but helps to lift the buttocks and tighten up the back as well. We've talked about bloating, belly fat, and even stretched out skin, and some of this can be common in women who've gone through menopause. Well, did you know that there's a special skincare routine that can really help women in menopause? You have to take care of your skin differently than you do if you are not in menopause. I go over the menopause skincare routine in this video right up here. I think you're going to find it very enlightening. And as always, remember to adopt, don't shop, save a life today.